Hello, thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 15th of March for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be delighted if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you'd like to have a one-to-one consultation with me, please see the link below. You can read my testimonials. Or if you'd like to ascend above a zodiac sign astrology and embrace more serious insights, you can do so in a very affordable way by checking out my horoscope reports in the link below. You can also get 30% off your year's forecast and character analysis, all based on your time, date and place of birth. Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 15th of March. I want you to cast your mind back to the 9th of January, because that's when Mercury, the planet of communication, exalted in your sign, governs the second decan of Aquarius, moved into the water carrier, and then of course it went into a retrograde, and then it emerged from that retrograde but was still in shadow. So it's been a long old journey since the 9th of January. And as this week begins, so Mercury moves into the second house of everyday resources. Now, a few Aquarians have written to me saying, Patrick, look, all the astrologers were saying that 2021 was going to be so much better because Jupiter and Saturn moved into Aquarius. It was, the first time for 800 years together that they came in. Why is it so tough? Well, the simple answer to that, Aquarius, is that the two co-regents of Aquarius, Saturn and Uranus, are in combat. They're at 90 degrees, which is a tension-creating angle. Saturn in our sign of Aquarius is about asking us to focus on what's really very important individually. So that means narrowing the focus. And that means some things may be making way. But because Uranus is in the sector of the home, emotion and family, that's a very tender right angle. So the first half of this year and the last 5 weeks are going to be challenging for everybody. But I do feel the challenge has been that much greater for Aquarius people because of the energy of Mercury being in shadow and retrograde. So the fact that Mercury in technical astrology moves into a part of its journey that's known as debilitated the next 3 weeks in the sign of Pisces, I actually feel for us Aquarius people that it can be a good thing, because it can help us to start to bring clarity and crispness and see tangible rewards for the individual efforts that you've been trying to bring to fruition, and me too, since the start of the year. Now also Jupiter, the planet of growth, continues in the sign of Aquarius and is forging a delightful semi-sextile to Neptune this week. Do you know, kindness has an enormous impact, and Aquarius people often can be very, very generous, particularly around good causes. And I think you could find yourself using any resources you have in an inspired way to help others, or perhaps you can have a declutter and in some way pass on goods to other people. But I think Mercury moving into the second house could be a significator of an improvement in your finances, because the new moon, which occurred at the end of last week, does offer this opportunity. There's no doubt about it. But because Neptune can disperse, distill, evaporate, erode, delude, quite honestly, it's a very complex new moon. So the new moon gives the potential, because Venus is in the mix, for finances to improve, but at the same time perhaps not quite in the way that we always expect, because Neptune brings a different dimension to bear. But because Venus and the Sun are in a conjunction this week and are forging a wonderful sextile to Pluto, all the hard work that's been going in behind the scenes with you over a very long time can now manifest, particularly with Mercury's help. And I think you're going to find by Saturday, when the Sun returns to the start of its astrological journey, and we have the spring, the vernal equinox, 0 degrees Aries, that is going to be a really critical point, because I think information is going to be exchanged then which absolutely delights you. And I think where things have felt slow and draggy and frustrating, and perhaps if your physical vitality has been lower, I know mine has, Neptune can be a lot to do with that, because the second house that Neptune inhabits and has done since 2012 is almost like having a kind of our own sort of like marshlands in our lives. You know, it's beautiful, haunting, there can be some wild plants growing, you know, it's a very inspirational environment, but also it's a bit boggy. So I think Mercury, even though it is technically debilitated in the sign of Pisces, I think it's going to be a good one, a good transit for the next 3 weeks. And I think tangible evidence is going to come through this week of traction. So there's going to be grip around the things that you've been working on. And the second house isn't just about dosh, it's about how we feel about ourselves. And I think a sense of revival is very possible for a lot of Aquarius people. We can start to say, yeah, I did that well, and look back over the struggles and the challenges of having that absolute battering of all that 12th house energy over the last 2 or 3 years. And this hasn't been necessarily a walk in the park, the start of this year, but actually you've been probably putting lots of things in place which are really fundamental to where you're traveling in the future. And that's going to become much more obvious as this week draws to a close. Is there a catch? Well, there's only one really, and that occurs on Sunday when there's a quarter moon. And that simply says, don't stress the small stuff. Not everything is going to be absolutely perfect in this new reality. And it's going to be important also to decide what you do need to grapple with, because the 6th house energy of Cancer can be a bit distracting to the electric energy of the sun in Aries, and you need to feel that sense of excitement. So don't try to bite off too much at the end of this week. If you're someone who likes to do it yourself, give yourself some achievable tasks in the latter weekend of this week and in the week following this one. If you're someone like me who's a born-again couch potato when it comes to things like do it yourself, it's more a case of not kind of letting energy fritter away. The 6th, 3rd house can sort of see us be a bit sort of and not finding the spark to get things done. But on the whole, I think this is going to be a very, very productive week, and you will be pretty happy as it comes to a close.